How do you do? How do you do? I offer my hand to you. Use good manners, everyone, because good manners can be fun.
There is no one right way to be polyamorous, but there are plenty of wrong ways. Miss Polymanners offers a very opinionated examination of one path of polyetiquette. But today, Miss Polymanners would like to talk about a different type of etiquette, convention etiquette. Today we will address some things that you should know when you attend a conference. Many convention veterans will already be familiar with some of these guidelines, but whether this is your first or your 101st conference, these are some guidelines that can improve your conference experience. Wear comfortable shoes. It is tempting, especially for people wearing costumes, to bring shoes that look good but are not comfortable for walking long distances in or standing in for long periods of time. You will enjoy your convention experience a lot more if you have comfortable footwear. Get good insoles and don't skimp on the price. Shop around certain brands of shoes that are known for their comfort to find styles that will match your wardrobe, rather than buying shoes for their appearance and trying to make them comfortable later. Crocs brand shoes, for example, have an entire line of tennis shoes and dress shoes that are attractive and can match a variety of clothing styles. When waiting for the elevator, let people off before getting on yourself. Mind the capacity load for the elevators. It might be frustrating to wait for the elevator, but it is even more frustrating to wait for a broken elevator to be fixed, especially from the inside. If you see someone that you would like to stop for a picture or a conversation, do not stop in the middle of the walkway or in doorways. Move to the wall or another room or the lobby area or anywhere that there is not a flow of people trying to get around you. Smoke only in the designated smoking areas and wait outside for a few minutes before coming back into con space to allow time for the smoke to dissipate. Be polite and friendly. We are all here together for the next few days, and we will have a much more enjoyable experience if we are on our best behavior and assume good intentions of our fellow congoers. Please extend the same basic courtesies to people of all genders. If you see someone with their hands full approaching a closed door, hold it open for them, even if they present as male. If a panel is standing room only, consider giving up your seat to anyone who looks like they might need or appreciate it, even if they present as male and even if they are members of the younger age brackets. If a gesture really is courteous, then it is courteous to offer to everyone. Don't hog the Q&A. If a panel or a presentation leaves time for questions, ask one question and keep it brief and to the point. When everyone else has had a chance to ask their questions, and if there is still time, you can ask a second question. If you need clarification from a presenter during their presentation, raise your hand and keep your question brief and to the point. If you have a correction, raise your hand and keep it brief and to the point. If you have an anecdote to share with the room, but no question, and the presentation is not a roundtable room discussion, write it down and mention it during the Q&A. Sharing anecdotes can often help illustrate a presenter's points, but sharing anecdotes has a tendency to create a snowball effect, as another and another audience member wants to share an anecdote of their own that was sparked by the comment preceding them, and that can quickly derail a presentation from the points the presenter wishes to share and run down the clock. Turn your cell phones off, or at least to vibrate while in panels, workshops, and presentations. Live tweeting is all the rage right now, and the use of social media has been a huge boon in sharing information. But texting can also be distracting for those around you, and texting or tweeting can also result in you not paying attention to the speaker while you are busy texting. It might be less distracting to take notes and tweet or text afterwards, but it is definitely less distracting to keep your personal devices from making noise while others are trying to listen to the speaker. Keep your badge, room key, and picture ID on you at all times within the con space. Also, keep an emergency contact card with you or list your emergency contact information in your phone. Label these entries in your phone under the heading ICE for in case of emergency. Emergency personnel like police and EMTs look for these entries first. Also, put your room number and the name of your hotel at the larger multi-hotel conventions in your phone. You'd be surprised at the kinds of important information you can forget during a convention. If you can afford the money and the time, have at least one meal in the hotel restaurant. These hotels like to make a profit on conventions, and one of the ways they do that is through the hotel restaurants. We would like to be invited back year after year, so please make the convention worth the hotel's time and effort. Be kind and lenient with the hotel staff. It takes a lot of extra work to cater to conventions and their attendees, and even cushy paychecks don't make up for all the aggravation that comes along with conventions. Everyone is in a hurry, and everyone seems completely unaware that they are not the only ones who are demanding service at this exact moment. Plan for delays, be considerate, and tip well. Be considerate of other hotel guests and keep the noise levels down in your rooms. Many hotels will try to put convention attendees all on the same floor or floors, so we should at least all be rooming next to our people, but try to maintain a modicum of consideration for those around you. When you enter or leave a panel or lecture in progress, please take the time to close the door behind you quietly. Meeting room doors have a tendency to slam shut, disrupting the speaker and distracting attendees. Please try to minimize your disruptions as much as possible. Probably the most important rule of all conventions is the 1-2-5 minimum. Every day should have a minimum of 1-2-5. 1 shower, 2 meals, and at least 5 hours of sleep. A shower every day is important for a variety of reasons, the two biggest being comfort of your fellow congoers and hygiene that can reduce the con crud phenomena, which we'll address later. 2 actual meals with proteins, vitamins, and complex sugars will help you keep your energy and your infection resistance up. Additional snacks will help, and we'll cover that in more detail later as well. 5 hours of sleep will also keep up your energy and infection resistance, as well as your mood. Many people, especially at the larger conventions, think they can get by on less sleep or even no sleep. While it may be physically possible, it is not the most optimal either for your health or for those around you who have to put up with you being sleep deprived. In addition to your energy and mood levels being affected, your judgment is also affected by lack of sleep and improper nutrition, which means that your choices in food and sleep can sometimes have collateral damage. Please eat and rest enough. One of the biggest complaints from congoers is the smell of other congoers. This is single-handedly the most frequently given complaint. I can't tell you how important it is to maintain personal hygiene. In addition to at least 1 shower every day, you should also make liberal use of antiperspirant and deodorant. We have to share the cramped elevators with each other. Please do not make this any more unpleasant than it has to be. Cologne and perfume are not a substitute for deodorant. In fact, they can often make matters worse. People's perfumes rarely smell as good to those around the wearer as they do to the wearer, and they do not cover up body odors as well as wearers think. Some people have allergies or intolerances to strong scents. Febreze is your friend. Although this is more important during the longer and overcrowded conferences, it can be beneficial at any conference. At the more costume-focused conventions, some people might wear the same costume all weekend, especially if it is a particularly elaborate, complex, or intricate costume. Not only will wearing the same outfit for several days become particularly pungent, but the clothing nearby will tend to become envious and want to share in the pungency. So even if you do change your clothing and shower at the end of the day, you may still need to partake of a clothing scent refresher of some kind. This is particularly important if you are a smoker. The smell of cigarettes lingers, especially in hair, on clothing, and on hands. Things that merely cover up smells like perfume do not help. Air out your clothing at night and utilize clothing refreshers. In addition, brush your teeth at least every morning and carry gum or breath mints in your compact, which we will cover later. If people are unable to detect their own body odor, they seem to have an inverse perspective on the scent of their own breath and how much of your personal space they will invade. It seems like I have spent an inordinate amount of time covering body fragrance. That should indicate just how big of a complaint this subject is and how important it is to pay attention to it. Please do your best to mute your aroma, not amplify it. Wash your hands regularly. Also, wash your face in the morning and the evening. This is probably the single most important thing you can do to reduce your chances of con crud. Con crud is that non-specific illness that everyone seems to come down with after a conference or convention. With as many bodies from different locations, all packed together like sardines in a small space like meeting rooms and elevators and crowded hallways, combined with poor health maintenance, we are all at higher susceptibility for infectious diseases. The most important thing you can do is to wash your hands regularly. If you need to cough or sneeze, do so in the crook of your arm to avoid spreading your own germs to your hands and from there to everything that you touch, like doorknobs or other people. Speaking of touching people, do not. That is, do not touch people without asking permission first, unless you have a pre-existing relationship with that person and you have already established proper touching boundaries with that person. In many close-knit communities, it is common to see people being physically affectionate with each other, and the general air of warmth and welcome of the community may tempt you into expressing yourself in a physical manner, such as hugging or cuddling with people you met here at the conference. But touch means different things to different people. So if you meet someone that you feel a connection with and wish to share your warm feelings by hugging goodbye or as an expression of sympathy or joy, ask first. After asking permission, the next thing to remember is how to accept the answer, whether it is a positive or a negative answer. If a person answers affirmatively, do not continuously push for more and more until you reach a negative. Accept whatever you have been given permission for and allow some time to pass and more relationship energy to build before pushing towards another request. If a negative answer has been given, accept the answer gracefully. You cannot force a gesture of politeness or goodwill onto someone if they do not want it. When you insist that someone take your gesture, it ceases to be for the recipient's benefit, which renders it no longer polite. If you attach an expectation of reciprocation or a positive response, that places a burden of obligation onto the recipient, which again makes it no longer for the recipient's benefit and renders it no longer polite. Asking should always be acceptable, but expecting is not. On the flip side, if you receive a request for something like a hug or some action intended to be a gesture of politeness, or even for something more meaningful, it is to no one's benefit to be less than honest. If you wish to accept such an action, but reject it out of some sense of politeness, your companion will have no way to know your true feelings and cannot make good judgments on how to treat you in the future. If you do not wish to accept such an action, accepting it unfairly sets up your companion to continue to treat you in a manner that you do not prefer. We are often socialized to avoid rejecting people. We must all work to move past this and offer polite and compassionate rejections when necessary. Which leads us to flirting and dating at conventions. First, compliments. Compliments can be a nice way to express our feelings for another person and can make us feel good about ourselves to receive them. But not all compliments are created equal. There is no formula or list of compliments that is always the right way. But much like polyamory, there are a few wrong ways. Compliments are very personal things, and they mean different things to different people. So it is important to give compliments that are meaningful to the recipient, not to the giver. But how do we know what those compliments are? We ask. Over time, as we develop relationships with people, we will learn what kinds of compliments are meaningful to our recipients without having to ask every time. But what if we've just met this person? What if we don't intend to develop a relationship with someone? We just want to express admiration for someone who caught our attention here at the conference. We probably don't want to have a long, involved conversation getting to know the other person when we just want to say something nice to a stranger. So, how do we know what to say and what not to say? The things a person is doing that prompted you to want to compliment them can give you a clue. If you hear a presentation this weekend that really speaks to you, you can compliment the speaker on the presentation. Tell them how well put together the presentation was. Tell them how insightful their position was. Tell them how you thought they looked comfortable or natural speaking in front of an audience. If you hear someone make a comment or a question during a panel that resonated with you, you can find them after the panel and tell them how clearly they made their point or how pleased you were that they asked the question. If you see someone dancing rather fetchingly at one of the music events, you can compliment them on their dance skill. Basically, you want to offer a compliment that is relevant to the setting and the actions of the recipient. What you absolutely do not want to do is compliment someone on their appearance. Some people really enjoy receiving compliments on their appearance, but some people do not, and the ones who do not, really do not. Compliments on appearances are very complex. It's difficult to craft a compliment on someone's appearance without touching upon something triggering. It's best to avoid them altogether until you have developed a relationship with that person well enough to know how they feel about physical compliments and, specifically, which kinds have the most meaning for them. If you absolutely cannot avoid complimenting someone on their appearance, compliment them on something they had some control over, such as their wardrobe or hairstyle. Telling a woman that she is wearing a lovely dress is appropriate. Telling her that she looks hot in the dress is not appropriate. If she has clearly gone to some effort in her wardrobe, such as a costume or a special themed outfit, a compliment on her attire is usually quite welcome, even if she is the type to not normally appreciate physical compliments. But compliments about her body within the outfit can be inappropriate if you do not know her preferences. I use the female gendered pronouns for the example because compliments on appearances for women are the most controversial and most likely to happen, but this guideline is intended to cover everyone. In fact, the variety of gender expression and society's reaction to it is one of the reasons why physical compliments can be such a minefield. We should be especially mindful of the gender binary habits. Conventions in general seem to invite flirting, hooking up, and connecting with people. In order to make the con-going experience a good one for all involved, flirting should be handled with a little bit of caution. Flirting can be a light-hearted, enjoyable pastime that does not necessarily have any specific goal or expectation in mind. It is usually an exchange of comments that results in smiles and laughter and an overall pleasant mood of the participants. There could be some implication of sexuality, but not necessarily any expectation of follow-through. If you are flirting, include sincere compliments. Not compliments on physical appearances, but compliments on actions, on thoughts, on things that the recipient has some control over or put some effort into. And definitely not the so-called backhanded compliments or negging that is advised by pickup artists. Just a sincere, heartfelt compliment. If you are flirting, keep your conversation to about 10 minutes or so and then make a graceful exit. Excuse yourself to get to the next panel or to speak to someone else. Give the other person the opportunity to miss you while you're gone so that they can welcome you back when they see you next. If you are flirting, do not get a phone number, a room key, or schedule a date. These things take the encounter to somewhere beyond flirting. If you do decide that somewhere beyond flirting is where you would like to go, remember that no always means no. Unless you have a pre-existing BDSM relationship with someone in which you have negotiated alternate uses of the word no, that word should never have to be repeated. If the other person really does enjoy the no means try again game, it is up to that person to make that clear. Without that explicit understanding, no means no, not try again, not try something else, not wear me down, and not I wish to be absolved of responsibility for my actions. Silence does not equal consent. Evasions do not equal consent. Ambiguity does not equal consent. Only consent equals consent. Only a consent given freely, not under duress, equals consent. Pressuring someone to give consent is coercion, not consent. 3 maybes or similar evasions do not equal consent. It means, I'm too polite or feeling too awkward to say no. If you offer an invitation to someone and they answer maybe, and you check in with them to see if their mind has been made up, and their answer remains ambiguous or evasive for 3 attempts, it means that they are trying to reject your invitation without rejecting you. You can leave the invitation open if you'd like, but the obligation to bring up the subject again moves to your companion from here, and you may even wish to say so. Follow the 30-minute rule. Do not hit on, compliment, or otherwise come on to someone you have not been engaging in conversation with for at least 30 minutes steady. Do not hit on anyone without having had an actual conversation with the person first, where the other person seems animated and happy to talk to you, maintains eye contact, leans toward you while speaking, and expresses enthusiasm. If you just met the person or saw them from across the room, then you have not established that chemistry. And hitting on them is a crapshoot, even though you might be physically attracted to them. It is necessary to form an avenue for feedback before even considering flirting or hitting on someone. Although polyamorous, kinky, and alternative sexuality conferences are great places to meet potential dating partners, do not attend one of these events with the purpose of meeting potential dating partners unless that is explicitly the goal for the event, like the speed dating workshops. Creating that agenda is often what people interpret as desperate or creepy. Enjoy the opportunity to meet new people and see where things go, but try not to scan people as though evaluating them for the job position of your next partner. Keep in mind that how a person acts or dresses is not necessarily indicative of their availability. Also keep in mind that even if a person is available, being available does not necessarily mean they are available to you. Try to remember that for as courageous as you are for going out on a limb to another person, you are not owed an affirmative response. Interestingly, the more strongly a person believes that they are not owed reciprocation, the more often that person tends to find it. To switch gears a little bit, here are some tips for convention preparation. Have a con pack. This is a purse, a fanny pack, a belt bag, a backpack, or large pockets that can carry a few things with you around the con space. You'll want it big enough to keep some essentials with you, but not so big that you have to lug around all your possessions and take up an extra seat in the panels you attend. In your con pack, you might want to keep the following: a bottle of water, your ID, your room key, a notepad and writing utensil, a camera, any medication you require, a bottle of Advil or other headache medicine, gum or breath mints, a USB flash drive, your convention schedule, a book and or personal tablet device, snack food, and if you were wearing a costume, keep spirit gum, super glue, an emergency needle and thread kit, a small hairbrush, and a makeup touch-up kit. In keeping with the 125 minimum and the advice to keep up your strength and health, packing con food can be an essential part of avoiding con crud and in making your convention an enjoyable experience. In addition to your 2 full meals, you can bring things like granola bars, protein bars, and snack-sized packages of nuts to keep your strength up. Check with the rules of each convention about bringing outside food into the con space, but you can certainly keep food in your room and possibly a food bar or 2 in your pack for low blood sugar emergencies. A loaf of bread, peanut butter, bananas, and non-refrigerated jam or jelly is also recommended to keep in your rooms, or similar type sandwich foodstuffs. These sorts of things can often be purchased after you have arrived in town for the convention if you are concerned about space during traveling, especially for people who fly. Individual cups of cereal can also be a good addition, the types where you pour milk right into its packaging and do not require additional bowls. In the juice or snack aisles of the grocery store, you can often find individual-sized boxes of milk that do not need to be refrigerated. These are just about the perfect size for an individual cereal cup. 100-calorie or lunchbox-sized bags of chips or pretzels can add just enough salt to replenish you, and bags of dried fruit can help with low blood sugar, as well as adding sweet flavor for those craving it. Individual packs of tuna or chicken salad with crackers can also be a great source of protein and to tide you over between panels until it's time for a meal. If you have the ability to bring a cooler with you, this can be a great way to keep the spending down at conventions. Try putting dry ice in the bottom instead of regular ice. It is more expensive, but it should last for several days. Put bottles of water on top of the dry ice. This does double duty, as it will freeze the bottles, thereby making more ice, and it will insulate the rest of the food from coming in contact with the dry ice while still taking advantage of the cooled air inside the cooler. Then, of course, you can pack sodas or other drinks, cheese, and other perishable items to supplement your diets while at con. Make business cards to give to people you meet at conventions that are appropriate for the convention you are attending. For example, instead of giving out cards that have your real name, real phone number, your actual business name and address, make cards that have the name on your badge, the name of the convention, maybe even your picture or something you are likely to be known for at the convention, so that the recipient actually remembers who this card is for when they find it in the bottom of their bag 6 months later. Print out a small sticker with your online user icon or profile picture, especially if your profile picture does not use your face, and stick it on your badge so that online friends can recognize you. Have a copy of the convention schedule with the panels you intend to attend highlighted and posted on the wall of your room so that your roommates will have some idea of where you are without calling or texting in the middle of a panel. Everyone can choose a different color of highlighter so that you can all keep track of each other. Set up a GroupMe or other easy communication system with the people in your group. GroupMe and similar services is a web-based service that allows people to join a group using their phone number, and then anyone else in that group can send a single SMS message to the group's phone number, which will then get relayed to everyone else in the group. Twitter and Facebook serve similar purposes, but if you have people in your party who do not have smartphones, are not on Twitter or Facebook, or who do not have these services sent to their phones, a regular old SMS service might be another option for you. These tools are convenient for sending mass messages like, "Who is free to meet for lunch right now at the hotel restaurant?" and "The party tonight is in room 214," and "Never mind, party is canceled due to sex. Someone else has to host this time." Just remember to keep your phones on silent so that the regular updates do not interfere with panels. Hopefully, these suggestions will help to make your con-going experiences enjoyable. If you have any questions about convention etiquette, convention preparation, polyamory etiquette, or you would like Miss Polly Manners to come speak at your convention about etiquette, you can contact Miss Polly Manners at www.misspolly.manners.com. And now, one more reminder.
There may be time at the end of a talk for an audience question or maybe two. If you've the desire to try and inquire, there's just one thing that I ask of you. Make sure that your question's a question, not a story, a yarn, or a tale. It should have a point and be nice and concise, or else I'll throw you in question jail. I'm sure that your story's quite special. I'm sure that your view is unique. But folks have paid big bucks to hear expertise and not watch time run out while you speak. Make sure that your question's a question. Make sure that it doesn't run long. And if it turns into a diatribe, we all will start singing this song. So I'm all for a well thought out question, but brevity is what we need. When figuring out what you're going to ask, think less blog and more Twitter feed. Make sure that your question's a question. It should be like a one-sentence quiz. The phrase that it absolutely can't contain starts with, quote, "My opinion is..."